And we're live. How's it going, everyone? Thank you for tuning in, those of you who are. Been a while, kind of a hectic day, but been working things out. My cat got stuck in a tree because she decided to get scared and scale the tree. That's smart, you know. So it's kind of like, okay, kind of trying a new therapy method for her, and had to get a ladder to get her down. And yeah, so that's basically what. That wasn't most of my day, but it was a considerable portion. I did get to talk to some of my friends, and all right, looks like I'm right now messing with YouTube settings. There we go. I think we're good with YouTube now. Oh wait, no, YouTube is missing a thumbnail. Only the best production quality around here. And all right, I'm going to trust YouTube is doing its thing. So I'm going to divert my attention. No chats from YouTube. No chats from Rumble, right? No chats. Awesome. So today's topic is bad players. And I was going to pussyfoot around with the subject. I was going to, and I just realized I'm not. Damn it. Let me do this. All right. Sorry, Rumble. I goofed that bit. So I don't know if I'm gonna have to like re-upload that intro that I just did there, but gist of it is that today's episode is about bad players. And I was going to pussyfoot around it, tap dance, and jump through hoops, coming up with different ways to politely phrase it. But those of you who know me know that I don't like to. I like to speak very straightforward and direct. So if I'm saying something, I like to be very direct and particular with what I'm saying. So that applies here as well. That I like to just say bad players. And I know some people would say, oh, well, bad players, there is no such thing as bad players. There's, I'm not even going to try making up someone else's argument. But some people don't like that terminology, bad players. And I take the meaning to not necessarily mean bad players. Like, oh, you're just bad at the game. It's more so I come at it from a dungeon master's perspective. And I look at players who give problems for me to solve or create problems for me to solve. And so I've compiled a list in my little list here. I have a list of players that can be pretty annoying to deal with. And I have several examples of them, and I've talked about them. I know in person I've talked about them several times. I don't know if I've talked about them necessarily on stream, but you guys have gotten a glimpse of how much I bust on dungeon masters. I bust on dungeon masters quite a bit. Several choices and several options they make and decisions they make leave me scratching my head saying, what the hell are you thinking? Why aren't you being smart about some of your decision making here? And yeah, so it brought me to this topic where now I'm going to be talking about players, and I'm going to be talking about some of the problems if you're a dungeon master, some of the problems you're going to encounter with different types of players and how you should deal with them. Okay, how you should. And I'm not going to mince words on that, because Effectively, the solution to a lot of these players and a lot of what they want to do in these examples, okay, the solution is very simple. Do nothing. So if you want like bottom of the line, like get at the bottom of the page, the executive summary, do nothing. That's the solution. Good night, folks. That's the stream. No, that's literally what my advice is for most of what I'm about to explain. And these are different personalities, different players. You will know them. You'll recognize and be like, oh, yeah, my friend does this. Or, oh, yeah, Johnny does this. Or Kimberly does that. You're going to exactly remember. And you might reflect on yourself and say, hey, I can be that guy too. I do that too. So hopefully if you're that guy, you understand how to just back off. Because my advice to those players isn't do nothing. My advice to those players is to stay in your lane. And I know that's a tough one to say, but just stay in your lane and don't be afraid to poke the bear, but don't go poking the bear every game. Don't go poking the bear every opportunity. All right. And with that, it's difficult. It depends on your mood. It depends on another person's mood. But I'm going to go with the first problematic player that I have. Player type. I'm going to specify. I call them do-nothing players. Okay? Do-nothing players are absolutely horrible to deal with. Okay? You throw at them every scenario in the book, and they just sit there doing nothing. They have no reason to do anything. You're kind of scratching your head wondering why are they even playing this game if their solution is to sit there and do nothing. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know what made them decide to spend their time playing this game right here and now with everyone else. I don't know. I'm not inside their head. However, as a dungeon master, this is a problem to deal with. This is something that we have to figure out how do we deal with a player who doesn't want to be engaged, who doesn't want to be involved? What do you do? And I talked about this before in my previous stream of player interactions. And it's like, okay, you have players that don't want to do anything. Okay, fine. Let them do nothing. Let them do nothing. And just keep moving with the story. Because a stagnant player, a player who does nothing, can be helpful to letting you run the story, but they can also inevitably get themselves killed because they do nothing. Their inability to take action is what puts them in danger. And effectively, they role play as a NPC. And if they're role playing as an NPC, well, fuck them. So if you're going to have an NPC, a player playing an NPC, then okay, let them do their thing. I've had players who, in the middle of a superhero genre game, what they would do is they would simply watch the villains do destruction, chaos, mayhem, and just watch. And they wouldn't do anything until the villain did something to them. And if you haven't guessed by now, I am very much a fan of the idea of call to action. That someone does something and that's your call to action. You're supposed to rise to the occasion and do something about it. Whether you want to be good or evil is entirely up to you. But the point is the opportunity presents itself. So when you see a hulking monster, you're a superhero or you're a person with superpowers, and you see a hulking monster shattering buildings and shattering cars and attacking people. That's your opportunity to do something. And when a player decides to do nothing under that circumstance, during a call to action, the obvious thing is you can rope them in and pull them into the interaction and force them to fight the giant monster that's destroying everything, which is what I did in this scenario. But you can also opt to do nothing. And if you want to be a serious dick about it, you could just hijack the player's character. And it depends. I wouldn't recommend doing that right off the bat. I wouldn't recommend doing that right off the start. I recommend building up to that. So when you get someone in line and they don't want to jump, they're like, nope, I'm not jumping down the slide. Okay, fine. And then you just move on to the next player. And again, to reiterate from what I said on previous streams, the players that do nothing can be kind of nice, because while you're doing something important, the do nothing players aren't being high maintenance. They're not being up your butt asking you to do this and do that. They're just listening, gathering information, trying to figure out what's the next step. What is the DM trying to manipulate me into doing? That's what they're doing. Where they can become problematic by doing that, when you let them do that, is they can then try to incentivize and encourage others not to do anything. And that's when I personally, I will aim to kill them. Because when you're encouraging other players to do nothing, you're encouraging other players to not interact in the game, which then begs the question, why are we all here? If you're not going to play the game, why are we here? So that's the methods I recommend when dealing with do nothing players. The next is the opposite, which I've talked about also in the player interactions, which is the do everything players, the players who want to do everything. They want to fight, they want to DPS, they want to heal, they want to tank, they want to disable the door lock, they want to sorry, I'm talking to a guy in Steam. So yeah, they want to do everything. They want to talk to the shopkeeper all at the same time, if possible. I'm not sure if I mentioned this with my brother's game. The last session we did, he had my sister playing in it. And with my sister playing, we were all sitting down playing the game. It was just 4 of us, 4 players. And we're here doing the some encounters. And I am getting frustrated listening to my sister fumble over her 50 billion different powers, all homebrew powers. But she's fumbling over these powers. And because my brother doesn't know what her powers are exactly, he created her powers. So he gave her like 5 sheets of different spells and powers she could do for her essentially homebrewed class. And with her homebrew class, she had all these different powers and abilities. And because my brother didn't know her powers, it's not his job to know what her class can do and what her powers are. Okay. And because she didn't know what her powers and abilities and such were, it came off to me and my other friend that basically she could just do everything whenever. And there was no coherency. And so to me, it came off like she was a I want to do everything player. Because she keeps bringing up like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, I could do that, blah, blah, blah. And my brother was looking at it as, okay, I'm managing time. So in the time frame for one person to do this other task, which was mining, and the time frame for this other person to do some searching, she would be able to use 2, maybe 3 of these spells. Okay? That wasn't clear to me at the time. Like, that was at no point. And my friend and I, like, we talked about it, and he had a completely different interpretation of things than what I had. And again, compared to my brother, the dungeon master, and compared to my sister, they had different interpretations of events and how they had gone. So in that vein and in that context, it was like, okay, that's still, in my opinion, a do everything type of player. When you're bringing up all kinds of powers, oh, I can do this and I can do that, and I can do this. And then the other factor that I'm leaving out of this equation is it wasn't even her turn. That's one of the hallmarks of the do everything player, is they want to do things that aren't on their turn. It's like, this is not your turn. Like, don't get me wrong, if there's something important, and a player wants to make it a point to say, hey, you have to know this, or your character would know this, I'm a more lenient and tolerant of that. But when it's something like digging a hole or creating a shelter, I guess the best thing I could just say is shit or get off the pot. You know, do it or don't do it. I don't care which. Don't go giving me all kinds of different options and ideas of, well, oh, I could start a bonfire. Oh, I could illuminate the area so that if any hostile creatures enter it, we'll know they're hostile. I don't care. Just do something, but do it on your turn. These are a bunch of irrelevant actions that are just wasting everyone's time. So those are some of the circumstances. And I've mentioned before, I think, of some of the Vertigo players that I had for my DC game. We had one player who wanted to be a supernatural investigator, simultaneously a superhero, simultaneously a romantic lover guy, and simultaneously he wanted to do everything that everyone else was supposed to do. So if someone was dealing with a supervillain, he wanted to be there. At the same time someone's dealing with a supervillain, another person is solving a crime or solving a mystery. They're gathering evidence. He wanted to be there for that. At the same time, another person was off doing a social event and they're just having fun. He wanted to be there doing that. And it's like, calm down. Your character can only be in one location at a time. The reason why we have these actions in these games is to carve out some time for that player to engage and interact with everyone else. That's why these time blocks exist. That's why actions exist. Movement action, main action. Those are the two crux of everything. And then everything else is circumstantial and reactionary to other circumstances. And one moment here. Make sure. All right, we're still quiet in the chat. Chat, if you're there, feel free to say anything. If you're not, if you're open to it. The next is, so the next one, I spoke to my one player about it just the other day, and he started watching my streams because he's like, when's he going to talk about it? So the next character type is the prankster. Okay. And this particular guy, I told him that I was going to talk about him on stream because this is a type of player I wouldn't consider bad, but he can be a difficult player to handle if you don't know what you're doing. And again, the solution is do nothing. The problem with these type of players is they like to do pranks and they lose focus of the story. They lose sight on what's going on in the grander scheme of things. So I think I've talked about before in my Star Wars game how one guy had upset a bounty hunter. And so his solution for upsetting this bounty hunter, which the bounty hunter went insane. It was a Dengar. If you're a Star Wars nerd, you might know who Dengar is. So he upset Dengar. Dengar goes into a tirade of rage and throws this player over the counter and basically tries to kill him because he's having an episode. And my friend knows, my player knows that Dengar is a little off his rocker because he starts calling him Han Solo. And the character's name, surprise, is not Han Solo. So he's like, who the hell is he talking about? Who's Han Solo? So Dengar tries to kill him. He manages to narrowly escape his encounter with Dengar. And that leads him to deciding he's going to get revenge against Dengar and just play a prank, just a little prank. And his prank is he's going to take a bomb and place it on the landing gear of Dengar's shuttle or a freighter. And so that causes a whole ordeal where the starport has a bomb attack, and now the Imperial authorities are investigating a bomb attack that could lead to the player ship, the player crew, everyone on board. And in the process of planting this bomb, a fight had broken out in the starport. The prankster player brought three other characters along with him to pull off this prank, this revenge prank. And it played a crucial part in why they had to flee the planet. It wasn't the main reason, but it was a part. It was a huge part of why they had to flee Kashyyyk. And then we just had this 2 weeks ago. The one player, might have been 3 weeks now, actually. The one player who I'm talking about just a moment ago, who's watching my streams, he is looking at it like, all right, we just had this bad deal go down with this one bounty hunter. And this bounty hunter tried to con one of the ship's crewmen, one of the players, out of 3 suits of armor. And the player said, no, this guy can get lost. And it started a little bit of a feud back and forth between this NPC and that player. Well, that player then tells the prankster player, hey, I need you to take care of this guy for me. So the prankster player goes through this whole stealth mission to get to this guy's ship. Doesn't plant a bomb on this one. This one, he sabotages it so that when it goes into hyperdrive, its reactor is going to feed back and then explode. And the player who's making the armor, he wasn't looking for anything, he didn't want to kill the guy. He was just like, oh yeah, get even with him, pull like a prank or something on him. But the prankster player didn't interpret that. The prankster player interpreted it as, this guy is a life or death scenario. We need to get rid of this guy. So that led to a whole ordeal, and he kept following that guy to see when he would get back into his ship and basically die. And that led this player, the prankster player, into encountering Darth Vader. And he immediately ran away. Saw Darth Vader. He was like, oh no, exit stage left. I'm out of here. So that's what he ended up doing. He ended up running away. But point of the story is he risked a lot of danger and jeopardy doing this prank that he is trying to do, trying to achieve and accomplish this prank. Part of what he was planning on doing was pickpocketing the guy again. He's been pickpocketing him like every time he's seen him. On that note, when they went to report Darth Vader's appearance on the planet to the rebels that are on the planet, he decided he was going to pickpocket the rebel agents. You know, the very people that the players are trying to help, this guy is now pickpocketing. And plenty of DMs would love to start an all-out war under this circumstance of, hey, this player character is pickpocketing the good guys or pickpocketing the other faction. So let's have them, like, they're rolling some serious dice here, and let's make them pay. And personally, I don't subscribe to that thought process. I look at it as, does he get away with it? I'm going to roll the dice. Yeah, he gets away with it. All right. You know, that it is what it is. You know, obviously the rebels in this scenario are more focused on Darth Vader. They're not looking at their pockets. They're right now in the company of an ally or someone who they're under the pretense of an ally if they're informing them about Darth Vader's presence. So that's some of the problems you might run into with the prankster player. And this same prankster player is also in the middle of a prank war with one of the other players on the ship. He's looking to get into a second or third prank on the ship with a prank war with other people on the ship. And we don't know how that's going to go. I don't know how it's going to go. And this is where you got to be mindful. This particular player, he's not interested in necessarily killing anybody he's not interested in killing any of the players. So like when he does a prank, he's not going to like prank their gun. You know, he's not going to look for a way to sabotage their gun. What he would do is like stick chewing gum underneath their boot so that when you go to pick up your boot, you're going to have this squishy sound underneath it. One of the things he did to one player's bedroom is he swapped out all the light bulbs in it so that it's like rainbow colored disco lights. So, and he also put like a disco ball in their room, which again, he spent a lot of time setting this up, doing rolls and investigating how he could do it. And, you know, so it's like for him, he wants the payoff of seeing that unfold. And for a while there, it looked like that wasn't going to happen. And then he managed to actually make sure it did happen, and it paid off. He's actually having quite a bit of joy with it. And the player's room who he put the disco ball and lights in, they're very much annoyed. And it's funny. It's a funny gag because every NPC who goes into his room says, "Wow, I like the decoration here. Like the lights are cool and everything." And he's like, "Yeah, but I just want a normal room. I don't want this." So it's a funny gag going back and forth with his character and the crew. All right. The next player who I've talked about also. I've talked about these players, the Kenku players. I call them the memesters. They basically look up online, find a meme build or a meme character concept, and they want to play that character concept, but they have no idea how to even play the character. You don't have any. They just, hey, this was a meme. I decided I'm going to play. I'm going to play the bard character who tries to have sex with everybody. You know, that's the meme. And, you know, I'm going to try and seduce the big bad dragon. You know, and then, oh, I want to get a nat 20. And, oh, yeah, I seduced the big bad dragon. These players, I'm not saying all of them. But you'll find that a lot of these players, their problem is they have an idea for the character based on a meme. not that they themselves have any idea how they want to play this character or what do they want to do with this character. I have talked before about my character Hal, my barbarian, my dwarf slayer based on Warhammer Fantasy. Hal is templated off of a meme character, but the meme is basically a dwarf slayer from Warhammer. That's basically the meme. Other than that, I wanted to play a barbarian who was lawful good, mainly because a lot of barbarians I see borderline chaotic neutral, chaotic good, true neutral, or lawful neutral. Like they aren't, or neutral good. Well, maybe not neutral good. I can't think of any that are neutral good. But generally, they're not in the sphere of lawful, let alone lawful good. So I wanted this character to be lawful good. I wanted this character to be a noble heart, a honest guy who doesn't want to really hurt anyone innocent. He wants to protect innocent people. He doesn't want to fight dishonorable opponents. So he's often, very jovial, happy-go-lucky, exciting, which the Slayer template in Warhammer is they're very aggressive, angry, and jaded because, their entire life is about honor now since they've devoted themselves to the Slayer oath. So that is something that I highly recommend when you're attempting to make a meme character. Make your meme character with more than just the meme. Have a concept for who this person is. I didn't go into Hal's backstory because I did come up with a backstory that is absolutely fantastic. I love the character. But that's the problem I see with meme characters. The Kenku players have no idea for their origin story. They didn't think about it. They just thought, LOL, this would be a funny character to play in a campaign. I had another game where I had a player who wanted to play a goblin cleric or a goblin sorcerer. I forget which. Complete meme. She wanted to do an all goblin campaign. And when it actually came time to playing in that campaign, one shot. It wasn't a campaign. She wanted a one shot. When it came time to doing that, she really didn't have any idea what she was doing. She took the more do-nothing player route, and she basically went with the meme of an all-goblin or an all-gnome campaign. And, not everyone, she was playing like a low-intelligence goblin, so she's kind of a dumb goblin. And the problem with, say, a dumb character is they can't interact with anything. They can't problem solve. They can't figure out how to do anything to help anyone because their intelligence on their character sheet is so low that whenever they try to do something, they can actually hurt the mission and hurt the quest and hurt other players. When I play Hal doesn't have anything in charisma. He's got an 11 in charisma, which to those of you that know and are probably listening to this, that's a +0 to charisma. So, however, even though Hal has a +0 to charisma, I conduct him like he has a +3 in charisma. He's very outgoing, very energetic, very open and accepting. And because he has a 0, I play that off as some people like the character, some people don't. But that's his personality. I've made his personality a very outgoing, energetic personality, and that can sometimes rub people the wrong way. They don't like having this dwarf who's all open about himself and half naked talking to them, about what they prefer to drink for a beer, or where do they prefer to go shopping for clothes or food. So I put more into the character than just the meme. And, if someone wants to play the meme character and they get themselves stuck, that's when you have to kind of just roll your eyes and say, well, I don't know what you want to do. I have no idea what you want to do. Another one of my players, he played a Warforged. He wanted to play a Warforged who was basically a Iron Giant without emotions, Warforged Paladin. And following the Warforged Paladin route with no emotions, he wanted to just be the Iron Giant, the stoic guardian for the group. And he realized that it wasn't fun. It was absolutely boring. And so he, after like 3 sessions of playing this stoic golem, he began asking me, like, how can we change this? Can I do something to change this character? And so I began working with him, and that's what I needed to know from him. Excuse me. I was just yawning. So that's what I had to work with on him for, was how do we get his character to be fun for him? And it's difficult because he didn't really think about how his character would react as a logical machine and a logical creature, because he's presenting himself to a bunch of strangers, presumably a bunch of strangers, and he's got to be able to sit still, calmly allow other players to do stuff. And that just wasn't his personality. His personality was he wanted to be interactive. He wanted to engage with people. He wanted to socialize with people. And he created a character that's none of those things. And it ended up making everyone resent him once he went from a stoic character to a social butterfly who liked to talk to everybody and had a non-binary response to things. Instead of, yes, I can do that, or no, I can't do that, he took the route of, maybe we should try and strategize how we can deceive this person. I have the ability to cast illusions. It might be a minor illusion, but still an illusion. And meanwhile, everyone's looking at him saying, why is our stoic warrior guardian trying to make us cast an illusion when we could just talk to the person and not have to manipulate them? Those are the type of scenarios that people would find themselves in with this guy. And it was very frustrating for the players because it was like, why is this guy making things more complicated than they need to be? It's like he had abilities, and because he lacked the social skills or the social angle, he was trying to shoehorn his abilities in wherever he could. It's like, oh, I need to use my abilities because otherwise I'm literally just standing here all day. Not realizing it's like, yeah, you're like my barbarian. It's like when you're playing that stoic character, that stoic warrior, your job is to shut up and be the big gun. So when you get called over, you go, Hal. Yeah, have you met my friend Hal? Hal, come over here. Come here. Hal, I want to introduce you to somebody. And that's when you walk up and you crack your neck and you present your muscles and bigness, and you might get called to do an intimidation check. It's just like you'd see in a movie. That's what you're supposed to do when you play those characters. That's what you're supposed to do. And once you start doing other things, when you start going outside of that, don't get me wrong, it's fun to just completely do something unexpected to break the mold. But if you're not having fun with your character, that's because you didn't think it through. And if you have other people who are resenting your character or resenting you as a player, again, and this applies to all these player types that I'm about to speak about, okay, you're doing something wrong in that point. You're actively choosing a character type that isn't engaging with other people, and in fact, it's stepping on other people's gameplay. And I've talked about this before. If you're playing a paladin, chances are you're not playing a paladin to lockpick. That's not why you play a paladin. if you're playing a ranger, you're not playing to cast demonic spells. You're not like, hey, how can I destroy nature? How can I corrupt nature? You're not playing as a mad scientist if you're playing a ranger. So these are archetypes for a reason. They're class types for a reason. And you have to understand not just your role, but also other people's roles and what they're expected to do. Which I'm going to kind of go back to the do nothing players on this, because I've had that where it's like, hey, you're the character that's like, you're up to bat here. And that person has no interest in batting. It's like, hey, we need a lock picked. And the rogue is like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to go and ride a horse. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to ride a horse. Wait, what? We have a lock pick right here for you to pick. Yeah, but you guys could do that. You guys could just smash it open with your hammers or something. Okay. Moving on. This also ties in with this next one is the clueless player. These are players that don't know what to do. They're not quite the do nothing players. They're not quite them. This is just someone who either doesn't have experience or they can't figure out what's going on with the current scenario. They can't figure out the mystery. They can't figure out the puzzle. And so this is where, as a DM, what you do with these type of players is you make sure you have a bountiful amount of clues. Okay, that you can hint at them, you can throw at them. Hey, your character would know an Arcana check could help them. Or what knowledges do you have? What knowledge does your character have? If you're in 3.5, you would ask for knowledge. In 5e, you would just say Arcana or History, Investigation. Like, you'd ask one of those skills. So the clueless players, and the other factor to think about, and this applies to players in general, is how do they feel on that day? You know, I've had Niraj, who's been in the chat here a few times. Niraj, he has had a sick day. You know, my brother, when he's played in my game, he's had a sick day. You know, days where he's just not feeling well. So he's not as engaging, not as interactive, and that's fine. You know, you want to take those scenarios, those moments, and throw them in a bin as it's an outlier. Okay, because that's not the normal performance of this player. That's not the normal performance of this character. So you give them a break in your assessment of them, in your judgment of them. Like, it's okay, you know. This time it makes sense that they're low energy and they're clueless. You know, they don't know what's going on. They don't understand why people are picking a fight with this dude in a dark alley. They don't understand it. It's like, that's fine. But everyone else, this is also why everyone else should be on their game and paying attention. Because if everyone else is paying attention, then they're able to coherently communicate for someone who doesn't know. And this goes to part of the purpose of D&D and its architecture. And a lot of these co-op games, let me just put that out there. Co-op games, the reason why co-op games have the impact and effect that they have is because you want the players to have an interlocking system where they work together, where they need each other, where they're dependent on each other. Now, the severity of that dependence will require a higher skill level. So if you make it a really, really intense game, the skill dependency is going to be very high. So everyone has to bring their A game. Which might not surprise anyone when I tell you the solution under this circumstance is let the players communicate. Now, there's different ideas as to how other DMs handle that. I've subscribed to the philosophy myself. Rule number 1 for all DMs is orcs attack. That's actually, I think, rule number 2. Rule number 1 is you're going to steal something, steal it shamelessly. But yes, orcs attack, coined by Matt Colville, which throw an encounter at them. If the players are bogged down, they're too busy dicking around, wasting time, throw an encounter at them and have them starting to fight, have them starting to engage. Again, if players do nothing, this will inevitably cause their death because they'll start doing nothing, and then bad guys show up and take advantage of them doing nothing, and then they get killed. GG. That's it. That's all she wrote. Next type of player are the video game players. I'm not sure if I talked about the brothel incident. I may have. The brothel incident is another one of the stories from my Star Wars game where the setup was this bank wanted to go legitimate. They wanted to be a family-friendly organization, only doing business with family-friendly. They wanted no corruption, no evil, nothing like that. No criminal entanglements. So the banker who's starting up his new bank throws out the proposition to the players, hey, I need you to go to this brothel and stop her from blackmailing me because she's threatened to go public with my support of her if I don't, if I pull my funding from her. So the players go, they begin talking to the brothel mistress, and she explains that no, she needs the bank's money because that keeps the gangsters away from preying on the girls. That keeps the gangsters away from stealing her people and raiding her business. Because now she's able to actually bankroll and fund her operations and fund protection for her girls. So this creates quite a conundrum for the players. And this particular player was of the mind that this is like a video game. And so to complete the quest, there's only one way to do it. Maybe two. And the one way was to get her to just give up the blackmail. And the other, he derived, was to just kill her. Not even thinking about what the ramifications would be of murdering a brothel mistress, a legitimate business owner. He was just like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to kill her. Now, thankfully, a reasonable player heard him say that as he discussed that possibility. And he promptly said, what are you, retarded? Because that was so outlandishly stupid for him to conclude. And he basically explained that, well, like those are the only options. Either we let her continue blackmailing him, or we kill her and complete the quest. And the solution that they came up with was the players will bankroll her, and that will remove the connection, at least the direct connection, between the brothel and the bank. So once they achieved that, it was like, all right, here you go. There's more than one way to skin a cat. But my moral of the story is this guy looked at the game like it's a video game. You know, like, oh, here's the dark side option to the story. Here's the light side option to the story. Here's the neutral side of the story. And that's it. There's no other way to do it. It's completely like a video game. And you don't have to feel sorry about like anyone who's getting screwed over. The ramifications, while like a video game, they aren't really that important in the game. In the video game, they're kind of just little things here and there. And you know, that's the type of player you got to be mindful of. And you might want the story to go one way or another. And the video game player is going to typically take the safest option or what they perceive as the most reliable option where the outcome is predictable. That's why he chose the option of murdering the brothel mistress, because from his perspective, all he's got to do is murder her, flee the scene, and never come back to the planet. Therefore, problem solved. Not realizing that, well, no, you don't know if you're on camera. You don't know who these people are going to run to and try framing or pinning the murder on you. Like, you don't know any of this, let alone how are you going to hide the body if you're even going to try. This guy was talking about just cold-blooded murder. You know, he was just going to pull out his lightsaber right then and there and stab her. That's what he was planning. In broad daylight in the middle of the bar. Can't make this stuff up. So with that all said, you know, my solution for this player was I just let him go. I let the players course correct him. And if they didn't course correct him, inevitably that type of play style would come back to bite him in the butt. Inevitably, that play style is destructive. And it has consequences that typically result in the player dying. I had another one of my players in my game, very much a soloist. Doesn't like engaging with other people, likes to do everything himself. And because he had done this, because he had went the soloist route and played the game very much like it's a video game, because he's playing it like a video game, he ended up not having any relationships with the other player characters. So when it came time for him to get killed because he pissed off the wrong person, all of the other players didn't care. Like, their characters didn't care. The players themselves were sort of like, oh, damn. But the characters themselves didn't care. They didn't have a reason to care. It's like, well, you know, you had no interest in actually helping any of us out any other time. You're playing this like it's a solo player game, which is the other type of player. It's under the same umbrella as the video game players, but they're called solo players. And that's a thing that they do, is they don't want to be associated with anyone else. And they feel that when they don't associate with other people, that somehow alleviates the burden of culpability in anything going wrong, which is ludicrous to me. That's insane. But okay. All right. So that's something to think about. And again, I let the players hang themselves. You know, players will kill themselves if you let them. They are going to do nothing. They're going to just walk right into the incinerator. And it's like, okay, I'm a DM. What can I do? You know, I'm just telling the story, and you decided to do something so stupid that you got yourself killed. Sorry. The next player type is the shy players. I'm not going to dwell too much on shy players, because shy players, typically the solution for them is let them come out of their shell when they're ready to come out of their shell. Again, do nothing. Don't try pushing them. Don't do anything. Just let them come out of their shell. A tactic you can use on them is typically use a cute character, like a cute NPC who's friendly. Use them as like a sidekick character for the shy players. Help bring them out of their shell. Help welcome them to the party, welcome them to the game, make them feel comfortable. That is the most you can do for shy players. Like, you gotta build up rapport with them, let them know, hey, it's perfectly okay to be engaged with everyone else. There's no harm there. Then we got power gamers. Power gamers and min-maxers. One of my first online Dungeons and Dragons games, I had this player ask when we were making the game. I was a player in this game. I had a player ask us all, our group. He said, "So what do you guys want me to do? Do you guys want me to tank? Do you want me to support? Do you want me to DPS? Like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to crowd control?" And I was the most experienced player other than him at the table. And the other players were like, I don't know. I don't like, they're giving like all these wishy-washy answers because they've never played before. They don't know. So I say, you know what you want to do? You want to carry. Like, you want to play whatever character is your best character, bring them to the table. So he opts to play a monk. This is a 3.5 edition. So monks are really, really powerful. They basically, they're known for their stun lock spamming and virtual invulnerability. I say virtual because they have all kinds of crazy gymnastic abilities where they could fall 300 feet to the ground and not have any problems at all. It's like, it's fine. So this guy plays as basically the carry for our team. And he could take on effectively our entire team by himself all at the same time. That's how powerful his monk was. And he basically used that as a reason to be a dick to everyone else at the table. He just absolutely wanted to be a dick to everybody, however much possible. And it was like, why? And he basically used it to bully others into submitting to his way. Now, maybe a bully deserves its own category on this, but I chalk that up to mostly bullies are in the form of a power gamer in some way, shape, or form. They want you to do something that would break your character's personality, break your character's thought process, your character's abilities. So I would just categorize them as a power gamer for the purpose of this conversation. And so, like, we had those type of players, and then we had another game where our power gamer, our min-maxer, ended up not wanting to socialize with anyone else in the group. And his objective was to basically watch the group die as he went off on his own solo quest. And basically, he took the attitude, well, I am the force and power of the group. So if they don't want to do what I want, then fuck them. They can die. I don't care. You know, if they do what I want, if they submit to me, then I'll protect them. I'll work with them. But they have to do what I want. Eerily similar to the previous player I just mentioned. Eerily similar. It should note the latter player preferred evil characters. The former player preferred neutral characters. And then another character type, or player type. This is one that is like a hybrid. This is like if you take a prankster and a memester player and put them together. You get what I'm calling the college frat boy player or the dude bro player who basically looks at everyone at the table like they're a bunch of nerds and has absolutely no respect for Dungeons and Dragons and the story that you're trying to build with your friends and the storytelling that everyone's doing. You're basically just a bunch of weirdos to him. And from there, it's like, LOL, I'm going to have fun doing dumb shit with these nerds. And so they conduct themselves like they're a college frat boy, not like they're a person. So they end up doing stuff that's just ridiculous, insane, and dumb, in my opinion. You know, like they're the type of people who might be out trying to bang every girl they see. You know, they're just like, "Oh, can I bang her? Can I do anything with her?" Odd, but okay. Let me check my chat here real quick. All's quiet in chat. All right, that's fine. Fine and dandy. Just want to make sure I periodically check that. So we have those college dude bros. Again, my solution for that is let them go. Eventually, they will hang themselves. Eventually, they'll do something. They'll say something. They'll walk right into a booby trap and get mauled by a bunch of trolls or ogres or something. Okay. You know, dude bros are going to do that. And I think that about wraps up all of the character types. All the the player types, the bad players that I was thinking of. Those were some of the things I was thinking of. I'm surprised I got through all that in an hour. I just looked at the time. It's like, wow, got through all that in an hour. Sweet. I don't have anyone in chat to engage or talk to. So I think that sounds like a pretty easy stream. I hope it's helpful when what we're talking about. You know, as I said at the beginning, the gist of all of these players is to basically do nothing. As a DM, you just write your story or continue telling the story, and you let the players' consequences and their actions speak for themselves. Another type of character personality, I almost forgot. Player personality, not character, player. That's bad, is the GM's girlfriend. I've heard more stories about the GM's girlfriend than I would like to know. To know that that's a thing. And what I'm going to say about the GM's girlfriend trope. If you have to deal with the GM's girlfriend, my advice to you is one of two things. Well, three. The first is the simple, most easiest. Walk away from that game. Just walk away. Say, I'm not going to play. Two would be what I would do. Confront the DM. Let them know that what they're doing is bad. I would probably withdraw from that game, but I would let the DM know, hey, you're screwing this whole thing up because you're kowtowing to her because she's your girlfriend. And if I didn't get kicked for that reason, like he would most likely kick me out. Most likely. At least in my experience, a lot of dungeon masters are very weak-wristed. They have no balls of steel. So when you challenge them, they immediately go the route of, I have to remove this problematic person. I can't stand having someone in my game with a different opinion or who's going to criticize my authority. So those are my experiences with those type of DMs. So with the GM's girlfriend directly as a DM, say it's your girlfriend, my advice in that circumstance is if she's whining at you, you treat her like any other player. Okay? You treat her exactly like everyone else. All right? She's a player at your table, and you are cheating her of a good experience playing D&D or of Starfinder or whatever your tabletop is, whatever your game is. You are cheating her of an experience by giving her special privilege, giving her special treatment, anything unique or different from everyone else. Now, I'm not saying unique experience, but I'm saying when you are kowtowing to her, and I know a lot of DMs are like, oh, I don't do that. I do it right. I do it perfect, blah, blah, blah. Your players are your indicators. Your other players are your indicators. Watch how much they talk. Watch how much success they have versus her. Okay? That's the crux of it. That's the key thing to look for as a DM is who is doing well and who is not. And if you're propping up a player artificially, that player is not doing well. Every player should be able to stand on their own 2 feet. And I don't have a problem personally reminding them that. I make sure to let the players know you're doing this on your own. I'm not doing it for you. So if you want information, you have to phrase it in a way that I, the DM, can give it to you. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's all you got to do, folks. That's it. So I hope that clarifies, helps out with understanding the DM's girlfriend. And I think with that, I am going to sign off. I think it's a good stream. What I will say is I have some other topics. As I've said in the past, I have some other topics that I'm going to be bringing up in future streams. Got some fun ideas. I have to see what day does Christmas fall on? Okay, Christmas falls on Monday. Very nice. Very nice. So, next week I'm going to try streaming again. Hopefully not be as chaotic. The internet here has been very, very shaky and wonky. But the next topic I want to talk about is scene dynamics and how to create them, how to make them. Because I had some conversations with some people, some people I engage with on Twitter, some friends, and they had made some comments about how I articulate certain scenes and the woulda, coulda. So I thought it might be interesting for me to pick some scenes and articulate how you can do them differently and do them better. And also nitpick some scenes from, I'm talking about movies here. Pick some scenes in movies and articulate or dissect them as like why they're good, what you're extracting from it, what's the deeper meaning of them. So I guess it's more of like a scene analysis, but I'm going to call it scene dynamics because analysis is like a beaten to death word in the sphere of videos and online content. So I'm going to call it scene dynamics. And so that's what I plan on working on for next week. Hopefully I'll be able to do that next week. Maybe if I find some people willing, I'd say I might be able to do it early next week, and then I could do a second stream Thursday. If I start streaming twice a week, that would be cool. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but that would be cool. And then after that, I plan to do an adult topic which I will probably not do on YouTube, as I said before. I'll probably have to make that one exclusive somewhere else because I don't know where that topic's going to go, but it's going to be a very mature discussion, and I don't want to deal with upsetting the YouTube gods and the YouTube communists over that. So I'd rather just, hey, I want to be able to speak freely, speak candidly, and educate people on the topic, and not have to worry about dealing with anything from YouTube. So that is probably what I'm going to do. Not that I think there'd be anything wrong with it. It's just I don't know. So rather than navigate YouTube's rules and worry about what I can and can't say, I'm going to just go the route of be safe. I'll pick the safe route and say, I just won't stream. That's fine. So that is something I'm working on. In my usual places where I post these videos, if you know, I post it in Discord. I post it in TwitTwat. So those are the two places I typically post. So if you find any of those links, go for it. Follow, subscribe. If you like this video, please hit the like button. I'd appreciate that. Lets me know that people are watching and enjoying. If you aren't, then go ahead and hit the dislike button. I would ask that you not, but hey, it still tells me someone is paying attention and listening. So I appreciate it regardless. And I'd say apply these rules that I just outlined there for liking and disliking. Apply that to everyone who you watch their video content and if you like their streams and like what they have to produce. So with that being said, I'm going to wish everyone a good night and thank you for stopping by. And let me end this stream if I can figure out how to do that. All right.